And while we're on the topic of Mountains of Music Homecoming, we got some fellas in the studio here who are going to play us some mighty fine old-time music. They've been out here doing their thing along the Crooked Road with Mountains of Music Homecoming. It's Mac Traynham and Jared Boyd. How you doing today, fellas?
Hey, we're doing good, Nathan.
Well, Mac, I appreciate you fellas coming in. I wasn't expecting this. You said you had a little bit of time to kill before you boys headed over to Damascus tonight. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on over there.
Oh, it'll be something similar to what we did last night at the Natural Tunnel Amphitheater in the park up there. Yeah, it's a kind of a variety show showing some of the breadth of old-time music, all the way from the solo unaccompanied ballads to string bands, to banjo fiddle duets, to flatfoot dancing, and even a banjo contest will be something that ends up being part of the big show there.
Well, that sounds like a real good time, and it's good that they're getting that out there. A lot of folks don't realize it, but the Crooked Road covers pretty much everything, all the way from the bottom corner of Lee County down there all the way up to Roanoke or so. Probably the Crooked Road runs, I guess. Pretty good chunk of the state there, and it covers all the different types of stuff that falls into old-time music in Virginia, and there's a pretty good tradition of that there.
That's right.
Well, folks, I think I got a little bit ahead of myself there. We're in studio today with Mac Traynham, who's no stranger to you folks here at Radio Bristol. He's been on Farm and Fun Time with the Sunny Mountain Serenaders, and he went all the way to Roanoke with us there a few months back and played a Radio Bristol session with the Serenaders there as well. And we've got Jared Boyd over here. He's going to be picking the banjo for you folks, doing a mighty fine job. So if you boys don't care, let's get into a little bit of that old-timey music.
All right. We'll celebrate a good fact for Friday. And for most people, a little piece that I guess is kind of associated with the Carter family originally, and it's called I Ain't Gonna Work Tomorrow. I'm going around this world. I'm going to leave this country for the sake of one little girl. Well, I ain't gonna work tomorrow, and I ain't gonna work today. I ain't gonna work tomorrow, for it may be a wet, rainy day. Well, I lost my money a gambling, and I lost my name, don't you see? Now I am nobody's darling, and nobody cared for me. Well, I ain't gonna work tomorrow, and I ain't gonna work today. I ain't gonna work tomorrow, for it may be a wet, rainy day. Can't you hear that banjo a-ringing? Can't you hear that mournful sound? Can't you hear the pretty girls laughing, dancing on the cold frozen ground? I will hang my head in sorrow, I'll hang my head and cry. I'll hang my head in sorrow as my true love she passes me by. Well, I ain't gonna work tomorrow, and I ain't gonna work today. I ain't gonna work may be a wet, rainy day.
Oh, no, that's about as old-timey as you can get right there, boys. That's for those of you folks just tuning in, we've got Mac Traynham and Jared Boyd in the studio here with us today while they're wandering on down the crooked road taking part in the Mountains of Music homecoming there. Boys, that's a fine tune. You said that one come from the Carter family, I believe.
Yeah, we did our own take on it with the banjo and harmonica. And, of course, we didn't have all the pretty women singers or anything. It's just...
Well, we can't.
Man solo.
We can't we can't be that lucky, I guess. We got live music, but I guess you can't have that all the time either. But that's all right, boys. Let's Mac, I really like your harmonica style. I don't know if I ever told you that or not, but it's pretty neat seeing the harmonica back in old time music. That's pretty prominent on the old records, but a lot of folks aren't really doing that anymore.
That's my link to my family heritage. My dad played the harmonica in this style, the old tongue blocking style, and he learned it from older kids in his community. Actually, people from the African American community were his playmates, and he caught a lot of inspiration from them and learned to play a few tunes on that thing. And that excited me a lot when I was a kid, and that was the first thing I learned to play on was the harmonica. So I try to incorporate it when I can and stuff, and it gives me a feeling of old times and good feelings about my dad's memories.
Well, that's a great story, and it's also pretty good to note there that there's that kind of crossover of cultures there. I know it's easy to think of the Appalachian region as being a predominantly white area, but there's a lot of crossover between those African and European traditions as well that a lot of folks often don't realize, and it's good to see that in action.
Yeah, that's right. The banjo's got that link directly on back to the Caribbean and into Africa. It's kind of cool how it meets up with the fiddle in this region and becomes a new kind of music. That's American music, particularly.
That's right. Good old Appalachian American music. If you boys don't care, let's get on another tune. What do you say?
All right. Well, we'll let Jared play a little bit on this tune, Mississippi Sawyer. That's a great banjo tune. And if you come to some of those Crooked Road shows, you'll see some demonstrations of banjo playing and might hear this tune. All right, kick it off, Jared.
Oh, now, folks, that's hot right there. That's Jared Boyd on that 5-string banjo. Jared, why don't you come up there to the mic and tell the neighbors a little bit about yourself there?
All right. Well, I was born and raised in Carroll County, and that's where I get my accent from, I guess. But I have music on both sides of my family. My grandfather on my dad's side is Jimmy Boyd of the Dry Hill Draggers, and I get some banjo influence from that. Not too much. I get it from everywhere. I've gotten some influence from Eddie Bond. He taught me some. Mac here, he's a great banjo player, and I've listened to Kyle Creed, of course. He was before my time, but And then I've listened to some Adam Hurt, and that's very melodic. And then also on my mother's side, the Laurel Fork Travelers and Arnold Spangler and my grandmother Clara Spangler. A lot of music on that side as well. So I just come from musical royalty, you could say.
Well, there you go. You got a fine pedigree there, and you're continuing on with that. And Jared, you're not too old of a fellow there, are you?
21.
21. Well, that's the same age as me. I don't know what you're doing running around with an old man like Mac over here.
Just graduated from Virginia Tech last month. So.
Well, all righty. Congratulations on that, and it's good to see that you're continuing on with the traditions of music from your family there. It's always a good thing, and such a predominant thing in our Appalachian music is music and family. So good to see that represented well on the Crooked Road. Well, boys, you want to pick a little more for all the neighbors out there?
Yeah. I do a lot of different kinds of songs and learn them from where I can. And I was listening to Jared's
great
uncle Arnold Spangler, who was a whale of a singer and fiddler, and came up with a lot of really cool songs. And a lot of them, I just don't know where he even got them. He's been gone for a few years, but I got to get back and ask your grandmother. She sang harmony to him on this song. It's we'll send it out to Jared's mom. It's called "Sit Down and Write to Your Mother, Don't Wait." But it was first heard by me from listening to Jared's grandmother and great uncle sing it. Called Sit down and write to your mother, don't wait, and fill her dear heart up with cheer. You may write a letter to mother too late, and then you can't mail it to her. She goes to the mailbox each morning and noon, expecting a letter to come from you soon. But you are so careless, you will not write, neglecting your mother, and you think that's all right. Sit down and write to your mother, don't wait, and fill her dear heart up with cheer. You may write a letter to mother too late, and then you can't mail it to her. Goes to the mailbox, the mail's done run, not even a line she hears from her son. You are so careless, you will not write, neglecting your mother, and you think that's all right. Sit down and write to your mother, don't wait, and fill her dear heart up with cheer. You may write a letter to mother too late, and then you can't mail it to her. That lonesome soul graveyard, so marvelous and fair, remind you of the day you neglected her. Oh, write her a letter and send it with care, for soon you may wear a white flower for her. Sit down and write to your mother, don't wait, and fill her dear heart up with cheer. You may write a letter to mother too late, and then you can't mail it to her.
Oh, boys, that was lonesome. That'd bring a tear to a glass eye, I believe. Now, what was the name of that one again?
Sit down and write to your mother.
Sit down and write to your mother. And that's, where'd you say you learned that?
From a recording put out by Jared's grandmother and her brother were the lead singers and core of this band that existed up until maybe 6-8 years ago, called the Laurel Fork Travelers, from over in the eastern region of the Crooked Road in Carroll County, a place called Laurel Fork where Jared's parents live now and he was raised. And she's still around. Clara Sutphin's her name. And she's a wonderful lady and a good friend of mine.
Well, boys, that was an absolutely beautiful song, and it's really kind of amazing that that's kind of came down through the family there, and it's still being passed down.
Yeah.
And still getting played out there. Well, it looks like Mac's going to put his guitar down there. He's going to get his fiddle, because got to get some old-timey fiddling going for you here, because that's the thing about old-time music. All these fellas seem to be playing all the instruments, and you never just know what you're going to get.
Yeah, let's see about this. Part of that show last night was celebrating the banjo fiddle traditions of the region. So we had a couple of banjo fiddle duets in the program. Jared and I were one, and Todd Mead and Julie Shepard were another. And it was kind of interesting to see the similarities and the differences, because the guitars were not a part of this music that much until the early 20th century. But when you go on back into time in this area, you wouldn't have heard a guitar being combined with the fiddle and banjo hardly ever until later on in the 20th century. So we thought we'd try a tune. Let's see, Jared, what do we decide?
Georgia Rose.
Georgia Rowe, yeah. This is one that Todd Mead's grandfather, Charlie Osborne, recorded back when he was in his late 90s. And we were listening at it by them on the stage last night, and listened also to Uncle Charlie when we got back. We often review the old records and the sources, try to see how the tunes went, and stick to the plan that they put out there as much as we can, and make it our own at the same time. So we'll play a kind of a breakdown version of this old tune called Georgia Rowe.
Oh, that's some mighty fine fiddling right there, Mac. That was a fine job on that tune. And where'd you say that song came from once again?
Oh, Uncle Charlie Osborne. He was from Russell County, Lebanon area, I think. And put out a great recording, couple of recordings back in the 90s. And he was in his 90s. And he even recorded when he was 100 years old. Played a right-handed fiddle, left-handed. I learned last night from speaking to his grandson.
Oh, wow! So it was set up for right-handed play, so it was upside down.
Yeah.
Oh, wow! That's amazing. That's cool to know that tune's from up that way. I've got folks from up in that part of the country, so it's good to know what kind of music they would have been listening to back in those days.
Great collection of his music on the June Apple label from Whitesburg, Kentucky.
That's right. A lot of fine music gets put out there.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, for those of you neighbors just tuning in, we've got Mac Traynham and Jared Boyd here in the studio playing some mighty fine old-timey music for you, talking a little bit about the goings-on on the Crooked Road Mountains of Music homecoming these fellas are participating in. And, Mac, you were telling me you've got an event coming up. One of the things in our little drop we've been doing here is that they're having community meals, and I think you were telling me earlier you're playing at one of those, correct?
They had one last Sunday over in Carroll County at the eastern edge of the Crooked Road, and they called it a feastival, and it involved dinner on the grounds at the picnic shelter of a little small church. That's one of the things that brings a lot of people that tour around over there. There's a number of little small churches that are built of quartz rocks that are real interesting in history of. And so this one called Dinwiddie was featured, and the congregation was employed to put on a feastival that involved food and music and speakers about the foodways of Appalachia. So it was a whole afternoon of various things like that, and great food and fun, and sort of started off what I know about the festival. That was my first involvement with it on the first part of this week.
Well, that sounds like a real good time. I know if there's two things I personally like, it's Appalachian food and Appalachian music, and I think those two things go hand in hand, and that's a pretty crucial part of our heritage.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. So, well, boys, if you don't care, why don't you fiddle us another tune there, Mac?
All right, let's see. We'll go get you one that comes from over in our specific area. There's probably only two sources of it, and it's from Carroll County. And there was two groups that are kind of known into the circles of people that listen to a lot of authentic mountain music from Virginia, Southwest Virginia. One source was the Uncle Norm Edmonds and the Old Timers, who did a lot of recordings on tapes, and we have access to that. And then the other family that got well documented was the Kimball family. And we're going to play you a little bit of the Kimball family's take on this old tune called The Ship in the Clouds, which probably inspired by looking off the Blue Ridge out into the Piedmont and seeing this mountain called Pilot Mountain sticking up through the clouds or something. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but it's a great tune. Ship in the Clouds. Let's see if we can get that thing going.
Oh, mighty fine on the old ship in the clouds there. For those of you just tuning in, we got Mac Traynham and Jared Boyd here doing some mighty fine old-time music from Southwest Virginia. Good tradition of that. Alrighty, folks, Mac's getting his guitar back here. We're going to get these boys to do you a few more tunes, but if you're liking what you're hearing, you can come out and see all sorts of good music like this all along the Crooked Road for their second annual Mountains of Music Homecoming, featuring all sorts of great events, and you can go to mtnsofmusic.org for more information about that. Alrighty, Mac, you got your guitar there. You fellas know what you're going to get into.
Sugar Hill.
Gonna get into that old Sugar Hill. That's a good old tune there. While Mac's over here trying to get his headphones on. Here we go. I think he's getting them. Well, anyway, folks, thanks y'all for staying with us here while he's doing that. Alrighty, I think he's got it now. Got to get his guitar tuned too.
Yeah, we're playing some fine old instruments in here. Well, an old one and a new one. I'll tell you about the guitar. I'll let Jared tell you about the banjo. This is old Gibson archtop guitar. It's got a certain unique sound that I associate with Mother Maybelle. All the pictures of her, most of them show her holding a big L5, they called it. And I got something called a L7. Not quite as fancy, but same basic size and sound. And I love it. It's something to carry around just because of the sound of it. Jared, what have you got there?
I've got one of Mac's banjos that he made. This is his that I'm playing, but I have one that's a whole lot like it that I own myself. It's my go-to banjo whenever I need to play. And Mac makes a very fine banjo, so...
Well, he sure does. That one's cutting through mighty good on the radio today. Where can we get some more information if any of the neighbors at home are interested in contacting you about that?
Oh, I have a website, mactraynham.com, all one word. And that's my main thing about banjos and other stuff I've done. And I'm associated with other things like the Floyd Country Store in Floyd, Virginia. We have a handmade music school there where we offer different kinds of combination lessons and weekend experiences, and people come from all around to enjoy that, and we're just kind of building it up to make it an experience for people that play and people that don't play to have other things to do that are interesting to do in the area. There's a lot to see and lots goes on in that Floyd Country Store, so I'd suggest people look up the floydcountrystore.com and check out all the wonderful things they do for the music. And they're a main anchor on the Crooked Road, along with, up that way, the Rex Theater is another one in Galax, and what's that store in Damascus? I think, anyway, just get out your Crooked Road, look up the crookedroad.com, stuff like that. It's a lot of information, Carter Fold courses along the Crooked Road, and up there in Ralph Stanley Museum, up that way. There's a lot to do. We'll go ahead and play a old piece, see what happens. Try to play a fiddle tune on the harmonica. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't, but this one is called Sugar Hill. If you want to get your eye knocked out, want to get your fill, want to get your head chopped off, then go to Sugar Hill. country store to get some lemonade. Got a hold of an old blind horse and he laid me in the shade. Play it, banjo. Play it again. Yeah, you wanna get your eye knocked out, wanna get your fill, wanna get your head chopped off, then go to Sugar Hill. If you wanna get your eye knocked out, wanna get your fill, wanna get your head chopped off, then go to Sugar Hill. There's 5 cents in my pocket change, $10 in my bill. If I had $10 more, I'd go to Sugar Hill.
Oh, now I believe I've heard that old Sugar Hill about 1,000,000 times, but I don't think I've heard it quite like that before. That was good. That was a really good version of that, Mac.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, folks, I believe we've about wrapped this up here. This has been Mac Traynham and Jared Boyd in here. I appreciate you fellas coming by today. This was really unexpected treat today.
Well, thanks for having us. I remember talking to you back in the Roanoke about doing it, and sorry I didn't get back to you sooner, but I'm glad it worked out.
Well, that's all right. And anytime you fellas want to come by with anything here, we're always glad to have some live music in the studio. I know the neighbors at home really enjoy that, and it's a good thing on a Friday.
Appreciate all the listeners out there supporting the station and supporting the sponsors.
That's right, folks, and you can see more of these fellas at the 2nd Annual Mountains of Music Homecoming along the Crooked Road. For more information on that, you can go to mtnsofmusic.org. Once again, that's mtnsofmusic.